Well, hello there.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm tired, but I'm supposed to say I'm great. And by
Perfect.
I'm supposed to say, like, I don't know. There are people out there, the theys, that say, uh, even if you're tired, you're supposed to be like, I'm amazing, I'm great.
Well, our language matters, and we'll get into that. But first, welcome to the Life Unfiltered show. I'm Justin DeWeese. That's my unspeakably beautiful wife, Ashley DeWeese, with her weird spoon hands.
Not weird.
And we're here to deliver wit, wisdom, and whatnots that we've picked up through life. And as the title of the show, it's going to be unfiltered. So Lord only knows what you're going to get week to week. But
Lord only knows.
we are glad you're here.
Very. I'll even get out my little violin.
Oh boy. Clearly never played the violin because you don't work the bow that high up the neck.
Oh, down here.
Nope, even more to yep. You know
This
what?
is
We're
this
not
is
here for
dumb.
violin
Can we
lesson.
move
It is
on,
dumb.
please?
Let's move on. Um, so what's going on?
That's oh, it's always funny when one of us asks what's going on as if we do not live in the same home.
Well,
Um,
I don't need to know, but our beloved
I
listeners.
know. Yeah, life, that's what's going on. Currently for us, my mom who lives with us had knee surgery. She'll be 76 on the 19th of this month.
Wow, way to just throw that out there.
I never have a problem with age. I think when you take care of yourself, you don't
Fair
have a
enough.
problem with giving your age or your weight.
I mean, look
So,
at me. I'm like 27.
right, right. You're looking, I hope I can fix this coloring and post production because you're looking like jaundicey. The colors. Oh, don't do that with your face. You look like a skeleton. Um, yeah, anyway, so she had nergery, knee surgery. I told you I'm tired. I need to catch up on sleep. Um, thus this is connected too. She had knee surgery last Thursday, so we are not quite a week out from that. That went really well. She did really well, no complications or anything like that. Now it's just like I mean, I say like now it's just what comes with the territory of every knee surgery, but this is the first experience of knee surgery for her, for us. Um, so it's been a little taxing. Um, just for me, general concern uh over her and wanting this to go well and whatnot. But then just overall, it changes the dynamic of our house. Like you told our kids, like everybody's got to do their part right now.
Yep.
And, you know,
Got to mind the P's and Q's.
exactly. So, yeah. But otherwise, still showing up, still doing the thing, still working out, eating well, taking care of business, if you will. You?
Good deal. Oh, just trucking along,
Mhm.
keeping keeping the wheels in motion and keeping everybody sort of on an even keel
Yeah,
where
I
we
mean, you
can.
have been a great head nurse, by the way. So thank you. I
Well,
appreciate that.
it's a skill
It
I've
is.
acquired over many years. I'd rather have Liam Neeson's skills from Taken, but I got what I got. So
Here we are. Here we
here
are.
we are. No, I made a post about this last week. Um, and I thought maybe we could dig in and unpack it a little bit this week. Basically I said, there's a lot of ugly in the world,
Hell
but
to the yeah.
there's also a lot of beauty in the world.
Mhm.
Um, and I had this thought, I don't remember where I was driving, but I was driving somewhere and a hawk flew across in my line of sight. And I was just like, Man, that's so amazing and beautiful to watch that bird fly, right? And it just got me thinking that like there is so much beauty in this world, but too many of us, and I'd fall prey to it, and I'm sure you do too, we end up focusing on the bad or the lack or whatnot. Um, and the reason I made that post was obviously with what's been going on in America with the election and everything else, like there's a lot of people that are like, oh, and this happened. It's so over. And then there's the other side. It's like, oh, this happened. We're so back, baby. And it's like both those things can be true, right? It just depends on where you're standing. And to me, the reality is if you focus on just the ugly and the down, well, that's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're cognizant of it, because obviously you're never going to get away from it, right? But you can recognize that it's there and you can focus on the good and the beauty. And guess what? You're going to get more of that.
Yeah, it's for someone like me, this is a challenging topic, one I'm definitely working on as we speak. Because I do agree with you. You get what you focus on. It's like the NASCAR drivers, right? Race car drivers we talk about. I always use this analogy in coaching clients of how those drivers, when they are going around the course, which I'm not a NASCAR fan, by the way, like sue me. But they're never like focusing on the wall, right? Like they're not going to
Right.
stare at the wall as they're coming around. Like they're focused on where they're going, what they need, where they need to go. Because if they were to focus on the wall, they would end up in the
In
wall.
the wall.
Um, and how often in our lives are we ending up in the wall? Not because it was inevitable, not because we had to. It was simply because that's where we chose to keep our focus, and that's what led us there. But it is challenging. I Here's what I struggle with when it comes to abundance and lack is what we're abundance, lack, positivity, negativity. And let's put a little asterisk on this because clearly anyone who's a logical human being knows where we're going with this. We are going to encourage you to spend the majority of your time and energy focusing on the positive side of things, the abundance that is available to you, etc. That being said, that doesn't mean that you like live out in la la land and completely ignore the fact that there is like a downside to things.
Right.
I think for the longest time, I thought that like I don't want to be positive all the time because shit's not positive all the time. And I don't want to fake that stuff's positive when it's not. And there's certainly people who try to live their life that way, but I don't, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Like that's not what we're encouraging. All we're saying is it's okay to acknowledge these other things, but are you reframing things more often than not from a positive, useful, abundant mindset? And for me, what here's what's troubling for me, and it's interesting because pretty much every struggle, problem, etc. in our life can be brought back to a base of fear, a fear of something. And
Sure.
for myself, the reason that I struggle to focus on like abundance and the positive and the sunshine is because I am afraid that I will ignore something that will uh that needs to be tended to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, as a coach of athletics, I've coached for years. When I taught high school, I coached volleyball and I coached the dance team. And I've just always been someone, not that I can't change this, but I have typically been someone who focuses more on what still needs to be done on the areas of weakness than I have what has been done, what has been accomplished, the strengths. Because to me, it's like if I focus too much over here on the good stuff, on the things that are going well, on the strengths that I have or a situation has, then I'm ignoring these things over here that still need to be addressed and dealt with. And if they're not addressed and dealt with, then even this positiveness that's been created over here is going to go away, or there's going to be some sort of plateau. Does that track?
Yeah, no, that tracks. Um, but it's one of those things that, to go back to your NASCAR analogy, you don't want to live your life as the guy at the steering wheel going, there is no wall, there is no wall, there is no wall,
Absolutely.
right?
Right.
Because there is a wall
Yeah.
and you need to be cognizant of it, right? But again, you need to be more focused
Right.
on the where you're going, right? What you need to do to pass that next guy and the line you need to be on and all that fun stuff. Um, and so it's finding that balance, right? Of being cognizant, being aware of the risks and the downside, but at the same time being forcing yourself, right? And again, this is where that NASCAR analogy is great because the car is not going to go left, right? To go around that curve, you have to force it to go
Right.
left, right? And
Because
we
it
have to do the same
naturally
thing,
wants to veer in that direction.
right? We have to do the same thing with our minds because I think it's human nature to look at and be afraid, aware, whatever word you want to use, of that downside, of the fearful thing,
Well, right.
right?
It
And that
is
because
human
that's what's
nature.
kept our species alive for all
Right.
these
That's that
years.
lizard brain, right? Like
Right,
protecting us. Like, I got to keep you safe. I got to protect
right,
us. So if I completely ignore the possibility for harm or danger, then I'm really leaving myself open and vulnerable to be attacked and eliminated. So I've got to do this over here.
right. But the flip side is if you completely ignore and turn your attention away from the possibility and the positive growth, then it's just as bad that direction, you
Well,
know?
let me give you an Ashleyism that just came to
Oh,
my mind. I don't know. I think it works. I haven't had enough time to run through it. So we'll just
let
see
it
what
rip,
happens
tater
as I share
chip.
it. But no, as we were talking about, human nature and lizard brain, I thought of the Crudes, which by the way,
Okay.
like the dad in the
No,
Crudes would
yeah,
be an example. This is not my visual, but he's also an example of he's like always looking to keep the family safe and in doing
right,
so like completely overlooks and is for a long time like unwilling to be open to the possibility of any other way of
right,
thinking, living, and doing. And anyways, um, but I was thinking about a fire, right? If we're on an island and we have lit a fire to keep us warm, that's a good thing, right? Like that's a positive thing that we have this fire. It's giving us benefit. It's giving us something that we need. It's helping us out. It's a good thing. But at the same time, I could be, focused on keeping that fire stoked, focused on receiving the benefits of that fire. Or I could be going like, great, we have a fire, but oh shit, like what if we run out of wood to be able to keep this fire going? And so I'm just focused on I need to go look for more wood because I don't want to run out of it over here. But like if I leave the fire and go look for more wood and things, then that fire is gonna then go out while I'm gone. And so I
right,
think that just popped into my mind is another way of looking at the whole abundance and lack mentality is if you completely abandon the positive, the focus on abundance, you will lose it.
right. Yeah, because if
You
you
will
go
not
out and
get more right. Like it's gone.
right, because if you go out and you're so worried about making sure you've got enough to keep the fire going and whatnot, and you're just constantly going out and picking up twigs and sticks and branches and whatnot and making a pile, but never actually feeding that fire,
Well, and also not even you're not, it's not even that you're not, it's not just that you're not feeding the fire, but you also don't get to experience the fire,
Right.
right? So like I created the fire so that I could be warm, but yet if I'm still out trying to gather materials so that that fire doesn't go out, then I am not even then I'm out there in the cold, right? Generally
Yep.
speaking, gathering tools. And so I'm also not experiencing the benefit of it. It's kind of like in the business sense or in the fitness journey sense, you can be achieving all kinds of things in your business or in your health journey. But if you are not focused on that goodness and the belief that there is more where that came from, if you just continue to do the things that you're doing and instead you are, hey, I'm accomplishing this stuff, but I'm so focused on I don't want to lose it, so I need to go look over here and I need to make sure like that all that downside, then in the meantime like I'm not even getting to experience the gains that I have made, the
Right.
success that I have achieved. And then one can step back and be like, well, what's the fucking point? What, like, why make any gains? Why achieve anything? Because if you're just always afraid that you're going to lose it and that you have to like fix this over here and tweak this over here, and you just don't spend much time over here with the good stuff, then what's the point of even having the good stuff in the first place? And like we said, and you will not be able to hold on to that or create more of that um, at all. And it's challenging, and it is so interesting how most people's minds default to that. And like you said, like it is typically human nature, but there is, I believe, a lack of awareness. I think that we all just look at it, or most people just look at it as that's just the norm. And perhaps it has been the norm, but it doesn't have to be. But yeah, like from like a business standpoint, I can tend to, whenever I'm having a launch of a program, um, I could have 15 people enroll in that program, which is really freaking exciting, right? When someone says, yeah, hey, I want to be a part of what it is you're doing. But my brain tends to focus on the people who say, no, I don't want to be a
Right.
part of what you're doing. Because you're like, oh, and that goes back to, as we discuss a lot on this podcast, that personal sense of clarity and confidence and belief in oneself. Because if you are at a place where you're just bulletproof in that regard, and I don't know that anyone's particular like 100% bulletproof all of the time, but if that's not where you're at, then you'll tend to focus on lack, and then you'll get more of that. But I can default to like, oh my gosh, like these two people said no even though these 20 people said
Right.
yes. Because it's like, oh well, these two people said no, what's wrong with the program? What's wrong with me? Why didn't they want to sign up in the first place? Why didn't they want to renew? Whereas it's like you could have these 20 people that are like, hey, I just went through this round with you and I want to do it again. And I should be like, wow, these 20 people went through this and they want to do it again with me. And, hey, these two people, they decided it wasn't a good fit for them. That's okay. So yeah, like it's like we said, like it's kind of human nature to default to the negative, the downside, the space of lack. And how would things in your life change if you did focus on the abundance, if you did focus on the gains, the successes, the people saying yes, the opportunities that are going your way? And before I forget, I think why that is so powerful in a very tangible way of understanding is it impacts how you feel,
Right.
right?
Right.
So if I'm focused on My clothes are fitting better and they're looking better on the way that they lay on me. And I'm actually feeling very physically strong. If I focus on that, well, gosh, like that gets me excited. That puts me in a good mood. It makes me want to continue taking the actions that I've been taking to have created my clothes fitting better, me feeling better,
Right.
etc. Whereas if all those things are occurring, but also the scale went up, if I choose to look at this fact that the scale went up, if that's where all my focus goes, then that's going to change how I feel if that's where I'm focused. So I'm going to maybe feel disappointed. I'm going to feel down about it. And if I'm feeling disappointed and down and frustrated, well, I'm not in a mental space that's going like, yeah, let's go hit the gym. Yeah, let's go do meal prep so I can keep my nutrition in check. So even even stepping outside of the, hey, this is great that we've accomplished these things or these good things are happening, but we still have to look at, these areas that need work. Even if you like step outside of the facts, just looking at how those facts can impact how you feel clues you in on where do I want my focus to go, because I definitely want my focus to go to a place that makes me or puts me in a higher frequency state in how I feel, so that that will create more actions that will move me toward where I want to be instead of further away from where I want to be.
Right. Because they become self-fulfilling prophecies, right?
Yeah.
And to your point, like you don't want to ignore
Mm-hmm.
that number on the scale going up, right? Because you can course correct for it and it's feedback, right? But you don't want to focus on it because again, you're going to be like, oh, well, gosh, nothing I'm doing is working, and what's even the point? And then guess what? You get more of that.
Well, it's like I was telling you on this topic previously that also what plays into this is the meaning that we attach.
Right.
As you talk about, um, hey, it's not about ignoring the downsides, but what meaning are we attaching to the downside, right? So going back to my example of like in business, if I have 20 people who've said yes to a program and I have two people that have said no, like that, those are the facts. Like 20 people said yes,
Right.
two people said no. We could look at that as like, okay, 20 positive signs, two negative signs. And if I just look at that as data, like if I decide that because I got two no's, if I attach the meaning that those two no's mean there's something wrong with my program, or those
Right.
two non-renewals mean that I didn't deliver what I should have to those clients when they came through in the first round, and therefore that means there's something wrong with me as a coach, or I'm not good enough as a coach. If I attach all that kind of meaning to that data that is seemingly the negative data or the downside of the situation, I'm going to allow that meaning to impact how I feel about myself, how I feel about my programs, how I show up, right? And again,
Right.
all it is data. 20 people said yes, two people said no. And it does go the opposite direction, right? Because we could look at those 20 people that said yes, and I can attach the meaning that that means I'm an amazing coach. And
Right.
that means
Everything's
my
perfect.
everything's perfect and it doesn't need to be improved. And again, there can be downsides to that, right?
Right. Of course. Of
Um,
course.
so it's just being cautious of the meaning that we're attaching to the data. And even if it is clearly an upside and a downside, with what frame should I look at this to give me the best possible uh what's the word I'm looking for? The best possible something of outcome. Like being in
Outcome.
the best position for the outcome that I want. That's a terrible way of saying that. All I'm saying is like the data is the data, And it can signify like good stuff or bad stuff. It could signify moving closer to the goal or moving away from the goal. But ultimately, I have to choose how I'm going to frame that, the lens with which I'm going to look at that. And
Right.
am I going to focus on it in such a way that actually drags me down, that actually holds me back from the feelings and the actions that need to be in place in order to progress me? Or can I frame that in a way that is helpful, useful, and propels me forward?
Right. And again, that goes back to that idea that we have to consciously steer the car the direction we want to go,
Mm-hmm.
right? To look at the focus or to focus on the data in such a way that like this is how we're growing, this is the room we have for improvement, but that doesn't mean just because we have room for improvement that everything is doom and gloom and it sucks and it's terrible and whatnot, right?
Well,
But
it
again,
makes, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say we have to steer that car. We have to make a conscious effort to steer the car.
One of my hangups with this, and again, some of this stuff is just kind of downloading right now. Um, One of my hangups with this also, because also what we're saying is you have to constantly steer the car in the direction that you want to go. And this kind of gets in just like a little bit in this idea of when we say like you get more of what you focus on. I used to look at that too as like that's a bunch of like hokey pokey. The concept of manifesting
Right.
what it is you want. Like, oh, like if you're walking around negative Nancy all the time, all you're gonna do is manifest more negativity. And as a opposite of that, if you're more of a positive Polly, you're going to manifest more positivity in your life. And I used to really think that, like, okay, that's a load of horse crap. Because, like, we, like, really, like, I'm creating that. But if you think about it from a logical standpoint, it's almost like it's more of the you're going to have more reps in the right direction by
Right.
choosing the positive frame on a scenario on yourself. And you're going to have less reps in the right direction if you choose to focus on the negative frame,
Right.
the negative of the scenario, even if it's factual, right? Like, even if it's
Right.
factual. So, for someone's brain like me, like, I need the acknowledgement of, like, hey, I know the sun is shining here, but I also know it could rain at any moment. Or I also know it's sprinkling a little bit right now because I don't want to be the person that's going like, no, it's totally sunny, even though my body's getting wet because it's sprinkling, right? So just accepting the fact that both can be true. There can be this positive situation, these positive outcomes at the same time being downsides. But the choice in it is how do I want to frame this? And do I want to frame this in a way that's going to help my thoughts move me in a positive direction? Do I want to frame this in a way that's going to fuel me into the actions that will create the outcome I want instead of fuel me into actions that will take me to the outcome that I don't want? So it's
Right.
like if you believe that something is possible, I mean, think about the business. Like how many times, if it had been left to my own devices in growing my businesses, would I have probably like thrown in the towel?
Quite a few.
Yeah, quite a few. But there you are on the other side, basically going like pointing out the positives. Don't quit now. Like this, that, right? Like just keep going. Just keep going, right? And so it's like if you keep doing the things that need to be done, it is inevitable that you will get there, that you will get the outcome that you want. But if you stop yourself from putting in the reps, even when it looks like it's not going to be possible. Well, of course, you're never going to create that outcome
Right.
because you stop doing the things
Right. And maybe those things change, right?
for
Like we
sure.
make tweaks and adjustments and course
Right.
corrections and whatnot, right? But
Right.
it's
We're not
still
literally
in
saying
that,
like do the same thing over and over again that you're recognizing does not work. Like,
right.
we don't,
But it's again, it's still in that direction of where you want to go.
right. A lot of times this comes up in finances, right? Like working from a place of scarcity and lack versus the belief in abundance and that, there's enough to go around and affecting our behaviors, right? Like if you work from a scarcity mindset, then you're going to want to hold on to the resources that you have,
Right.
right? If I hold on to the resources that I have, then I could stunt my growth. I could stunt the experiences that I have the ability to have because I won't invest in them. But
Right.
yet, if I'm not investing in those resources, if I'm not investing in those experiences, then I'm also not getting things that I need to grow and move in the direction that I want. Right. Whereas if
Right.
I believe in abundance, if I believe that if I take these steps, there is more to come and that will come, then again, it all, like I said, just kind of boils back to that. How do you want to choose to frame things? Do you want to frame things in your life from a place of fear and lack and scarcity, which ultimately leads to limitations on yourself and your life? Or do you want to choose, despite the data, do you want to choose to frame it in a way that propels you forward, that creates thoughts in your mind, that creates actions in yourself that moves you closer to where you want to be? Like all of that is a choice.
Well, and it's a reinforcement of a common theme through this podcast, right? Of essentially empowering yourself,
Yeah.
right? Because if you focus on the outcome that you want and take the actions to move you there, you're empowering yourself to see that future become a reality.
Yeah. As opposed to being a slave to
Right.
circumstances.
So that sounds like an amazing big nug,
It
right?
does.
Empower yourself to steer the car, whatever metaphor you want to use, towards abundance and the things that you want, and realizing that what you focus on is what you're going to get more of.
Right. And so with that, I want to give our listeners, our viewers an assignment, and that
Oh
is,
boy.
what do you want more of in your life?
Right.
Like, what do you want more of in your life? Do you want more joy? Do you want more pain? Do you want more money? Do you want less money? Do you want more loyal friends? Do you want more fake friends? Like, what do you literally want more of in your life? Make a list of that. And then those are the things that you need to steer your focus to, that you need to spend your time on, that you need the lenses with which you need to look at yourself and your situations in life, um, so that it moves you in the direction that you desire.
Boom.
Perfect.
Homework assignment, y'all.
Beautiful. I know. Look at us handing out assignments now. We are evolving. I
We
love it.
are.
We are. We are. So, if you got value out of today's episode, we would love that you click that button and share with others, that you would click the button and subscribe so you don't miss these episodes. And as always, if you would like to give us a comment for further discussion or just to let us know, like, hey, the things that you're talking about are really hitting home and are helpful, as well as, hey, have you ever thought about talking about this topic? Or I'd like
Right.
to hear your thoughts on this topic. We would love for you to share that with us, comment, send us a message, etc. We want to be here to provide value to you.
That's our goal.
Okay.
Deliver value to the masses.
All right. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week.